is up, my nerdy YouTube retro video game fans? Nintenjoel here again with his nerdy opinion on retro video games. What do you think about that? So, new topic. And I know you like new topics because I always have good ones. This one is 3 RPGs that I think kick ass and are underrated that maybe other people have ignored and or underrated. So here we go. In chronological order, we have a game I have been playing since I was a teenager and have yet still never beaten. This is the Seventh Saga on Super Nintendo. This is a largely ignored game. Okay, so where to begin on this game? This game is pretty interesting in the fact that when you play this game, you have a choice between many characters, and depending on what character you choose, you have different abilities. There's the standard warrior, there's kind of a light magician, kind of a dark magician, one that's defensive, one that's offensive, and then there's an alien, and there's a robot. Anyways, a fair cast of characters. I believe 8 to choose from. Maybe 7, because it's the Seventh Saga. I don't remember, but that would be really funny if I go back and look at this game and there's 7 characters. But that may be why. But anyways, there's 7 or 8 characters, and you choose between them, and each one's kind of specializes in their own thing. So, what gets me about this game are the really good graphics. In my opinion, and I know this is an earlier title, and I know it uses Mode 7 graphics, but in my opinion, this game, for its time, had superior graphics for the Super Nintendo, and the battle sequences are animated quite well. In fact, what I would compare this game to is actually the Phantasy Star games, especially the later Phantasy Star games, like Phantasy Star 4 for Sega Genesis, where you see your enemies straight on, and they're animated. They actually attack you. You can see them attacking you. And in Seventh Saga, you see your character swing a sword and attack your people. And it's pretty cool. The magic looks cool. The animations look cool. The enemies look cool. The overworld's interesting. You have this little crystal ball in your lower right-hand corner where it shows the enemies as little white blips on like a radar screen. And so you can actually avoid enemies if you're quick enough. Which is an interesting thing, and that little crystal follows you inside caves and temples and such as well, so you can avoid enemies there too, although sometimes you get swarmed and you just can't avoid them, but sometimes it does really come in handy. I thought that was an interesting mechanic in this game that was never really prevalent in many other games. Graphically and musically, I love this game. However, I do have one problem with this game, and that is its difficulty. My nephew and my brother-in-law have given me a lot of shit for not beating this game, but to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time on one game unless I truly mean to these days. I have a series called Games Nintenjoel Has Destroyed, and those are the games that I've beaten through the years, and those are the ones that I just buckle down and I literally play only that game until I beat it. Seventh Saga, I have not actually tried that with, though I've played this game many times. There's a point in this game where it becomes very hard, and that is because of one gameplay mechanic that is also not featured in many RPGs during this time, and that is the fact that when you get stronger, your enemies get stronger. And therefore, leveling up and grinding gets increasingly hard, and the need to grind is there a lot too, but at the same time, if you grind too much, your enemies get too strong, and anyways, this all leads up to a point where you have to defeat one of the other party members that you could have chosen in the beginning. You run into them continuously, and you can actually have one as a party member, but at some point, you and whoever you choose as your party member has to fight one of those other guys. And if you happen to choose somebody that's not a magician, you are screwed, buddy. Because if the person that you have to fight happens to be a magician, Wow, you've wasted a lot of hours. This game is really, really hard. The need for grinding is increasingly high as you get further in the game. I've gotten really far in this game, but once you get to the point where you have to defeat one of your own, it is near impossible, in my opinion. Or I'm doing something wrong and just suck at this game. In my nephew and brother-in-law's opinion, I just suck at this game. They like to give me shit for that. But I also don't see them with 700 games to play, so, you know, take that as you will. Seventh Saga, Super Nintendo. See if you can beat it. Let me know. Let me know what you think of this game. I think it's freaking amazing, and one of these days, I am going to go through and beat that game. So, next in chronological order, and I got this when it was released. This is Dragon Warrior 7 for PlayStation 1, and boy, this should not be an underrated classic at all. This should be a gem that everybody knows about. Because everybody knows about the Dragon Warrior franchise, but... Alright, I guess the story is that Dragon Warrior is a Nintendo franchise. The first 4 games were on the NES. The next 2 games are released on the Super Nintendo. Never made it to America, so technically the Super Famicom. But they've had many re-releases, and the DS versions, 4 through 6, and then 9. Those are really good as well. Anyways, they've always been on Nintendo consoles, and there's only a couple exceptions. This is one of them. This is Dragon Warrior 7 for PlayStation, and this is an amazing game. It's also probably the longest game that you can find besides like Pokemon games or like Dragon Quest Monsters games where you're trying to collect all the monsters. Or like Persona games. Those are ones are the really hard ones where you're trying to catch them all, basically. As far as a standard RPG, Dragon Warrior 7 is one of the longest RPGs you can ever find. I've heard people spending 150 hours on this game, no problem. I've heard that it's a minimum of 120 hours. Now, me personally, I've never spent that much time on this game. I've gotten quite far in this game, but have never made it to the end of this one. This is not one you will see in my Games Nintenjoel has destroyed episodes yet, but one day I will beat this game. It is incredible. It's got the graphics of the DS releases, where you can rotate your camera angle, and the boss battles, just the regular battles, the music, the graphics, the story is amazing. Now this one's got an interesting story. What I love about this story is that when you start this game, you are on a lone island. And without giving away too much, basically, as you play this game, more islands are revealed and more worlds are revealed for you to explore, both past and present. That's all I'm going to say. But basically, everywhere that you find that you make a new place, you have to explore twice in almost 2 different worlds. And the characters are very memorable, the enemies are very memorable. Every story of every place you end up encountering and their story is incredible. I cannot recommend this enough, especially if you like Dragon Warrior games, Dragon Quest games in Japan. Yeah, this is essential. Absolutely essential. Doesn't matter the price tag. This one's worth getting a copy in as new condition as you can get it, so you can make sure it works perfectly fine. I'm picky about that. This is my copy I've had since it came out, and I treasure this game. It is a little more expensive, but still, right now is the time to get it before it skyrockets in price. Dragon Warrior 7 for PlayStation 1. The last game I have for you, I love this game. This is one of the reasons I owned a DS when I got it, because I was a latecomer to the DS. I'm a latecomer to most of the consoles because I'm not really a new console kind of guy. I end up with them eventually, but it usually takes me a few years sometimes, and the DS I didn't get until later on in the system. I got this system with Castlevania Portrait of Ruin and Radium Historia and Dragon Quest IV. Okay, so Radium Historia is an RPG, of course, because as you've seen from the title, this is RPGs. This one's interesting in the fact that it's very much like a Final Fantasy. However, the gameplay mechanics include a grimoire or a book that allows you to travel through time and change events back in time. So if you have done something in one time period, you can go back in time and do something different and create a new timeline, and you end up with a couple different timelines. And your purpose in this game is to set the timeline correct with all of these changes that you make. And it is a brilliant game with amazing graphics and amazing music, and the presentation is beautiful. It's made by Atlas, which I love Atlas games. They're the ones that made Persona and all the Shin Megami Tensei games, which are very, very fantastic. One thing that's interesting about Radium Historia is the battle system, where it is kind of on, I don't want to say a grid-based system, but it's kind of like Mega Man Battle Network for Game Boy Advance, where there's kind of a grid system set up, and you can move in certain squares. And with these squares, you can push enemies into other squares with your attacks. And when you line up with multiple enemies and you attack the last enemy in line, your attack hits all the enemies in front of them as well that are in line with it. So you can purposely line enemies up in a line or diagonally or however you want, and your spells can affect multiple enemies by strategically hitting your enemies into a certain position. But the layout is very much like the old Final Fantasies, like the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies, with, you know, your good guys on the right and your baddies on the left. Of course, for you guys watching, that's right and left. Anyways, but yeah, the grid system's cool, how you can push your enemies, and the time system is really cool. So all three of these are amazing RPGs that definitely need more attention. Seventh Saga for Super Nintendo, Dragon Warrior for 7 for PlayStation, Radium Historia for the Nintendo DS. Please check them out. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you want to see more videos, and hopefully thumbs up more of my videos. And please comment. I want to know what you guys think of these RPGs. Or also, give me a subject for more of these. Are there RPGs that you feel are overlooked that you want to see me do a review on? Hopefully I have them in my collection to show you, but I might not. If not, I can still maybe make it happen. So give me a comment and let me know what you think. And in the meantime, keep gaming.